Good morning from sunny Pasadena, California, and thank you for taking time out of your day to join us for the latest event in our webinar series. Today, we're going to be taking a look at digitizing administrative workflows with Bluebeam Revu. My name is Amy, and I'm an account manager here at Bluebeam, and I also manage our training program working directly with our customers and developing custom training sessions. Today's training is designed for users of Revu who use the program for various administrative workflows, including users who work in AEC, accounting, legal, medical, and real estate. As you know, or may not know, Bluebeam Revu is a smart, simple PDF solution that's designed to help you take your workflows digital. So for today's webinar, sort of the big picture vision of what we're trying to do here is to take you from using your physical tools for cutting, pasting, making notes, using pens, signing and stamping documents, to being able to create a digital tool set within Revu where you can do all of this with just the click of a mouse. And what's even better, in Revu, you can standardize your tools and share them with your whole team. While Revu is used by many people, for this training, we're going to be assuming that your primary workflows are administrative, working with 8.5 by 11 size documents. And at the end, I'm going to cover some options for our more customized training. So let's go ahead and take a look at the agenda for today. We're going to get started just covering the basics of the Revu interface, navigation, and setting up custom profiles. Then we'll take a look at a very common workflow of working with a multi-page document and manipulating those pages. We'll also talk about setting up bookmarks and what to do if you have a scanned document that needs to be OCR'd so you can search it. We'll then cover our core markup tools, tool chest, and the markups list for tracking all of your comments. Then we'll get into PDF text editing features as well as digital signatures, and then finish it up with some additional options for getting further training. And training will take about 50 minutes of content, and then we should have about 10 minutes left over at the end for any questions that might come up. So just briefly before we get into Revu, I wanted to say a quick word about the PDF format, as everything you do in Revu will be based on this format. PDF is known as the universal format for file exchange, and PDF is now an open standard format. It's no longer owned by Adobe. So it's now controlled by the ISO standard board, and Bluebeam actually sits on that board. So we help make the decisions of where PDF is going in the future. PDF, used to be seen as a very static format, but we've been leading the way in changing that. So PDF is now very fluid and dynamic. You can edit content, change it, erase it, move it, manipulate it, set security to control what people can do with it. All these things you can now do in PDF. But the fact that it's an open standard, what that means to you is that anything you do in Revu, any markups or comments you place on these documents, you can rest assured that anyone else using any PDF application, such as Acrobat or other applications, will be able to see those comments. So let's go ahead and get started taking a look at Revu in action. Right now I was in presentation mode. I'm just going to hit escape, and that's going to take me into the interface of Revu. If you're not familiar with it already, the interface is designed with a command bar here at the top. And you'll notice there's 6 icons on the left-hand side for new documents, opening, saving, printing, emailing, and Studio, our collaboration tool. These are always going to stay in the upper left-hand corner. If you notice, as I click on different options on the menu bar at the top, the icons on the right-hand side are changing out. So they're going to be dependent on what item you have selected on the menu bar. And of course, anytime you see a down arrow, you'll be able to click on that and see additional options. For instance, these are all of our text-based markup tools that you can get to here. In addition to the menu bar and command bar, we also have a lot of our features hidden behind 3 panels. One on the left-hand side, you can just click on this dot and be able to open it up. The markups list is going to be here at the bottom, and we have another panel with some content here on the right-hand side. We kind of hide those behind panels just so you have more screen real estate here to see your document. You can also access all the features hidden behind the panels from this tab access. That's the upside-down triangle in the upper left-hand corner. If you click on it, these are all the different tabs of features that are hidden behind those panels. You can access them that way as well. Now, Review is designed in a very robust way to meet the needs of many different workflows for many different types of roles. And because these workflows can vary so much, we created a feature called Profiles. This is under View. This is the Profile Manager. And this allows you to customize the interface and which toolbars are showing to meet your particular needs. So if you click on the down arrow, you'll notice Review comes pre-shipped with a number of profiles for different types of work that you might be doing here. I'm in a simple profile right now, which is our most basic, good for just PDF viewing. I'm going to go ahead and switch to an admin profile, and what you'll notice is the interface reconfigures itself a bit, and now you can see I have a whole bunch of new toolbars located here underneath the command bar. I also have all of my markup tools located over here on the right-hand side as well. So a profile is going to control what toolbars and commands are showing, how the interface is laid out, and also what custom tool sets are available in the tool chest. And we'll talk about what custom tool sets are in just a moment. What our customers typically do with profiles to make it more powerful for them is they create a custom profile for their company. So you can just click on the Profile Manager, and that will open up this Manage Profiles dialog box. And I can just simply click Add here. And I can go ahead and set up my own custom profile. You might want to do this for a specific workflow that you're doing, a team, department, or even for your whole company. So I've gone ahead and set up a new profile. Now I can go and turn toolbars on and off. For instance, I'm going to go to View, Toolbars, click the down arrow. You can see all the ones that are turned on are checked. Let's say I know I'm going to be doing some text editing in a moment, so I'm going to make sure I have my advanced text toolbar turned on. So you can see that's now appearing. And if you really want to go crazy with this, you can go down to Customize. And you can literally go in here. If I click All, you'll notice this is literally every single command option you have in Review. I could turn off all these toolbars and create my own custom toolbar with the exact commands that I'm going to be using on a regular basis. Some people like to have a very clean interface, turning off all the things they don't need on a regular basis and only having the commands that they use. So you could do that, completely customize it, save it to that profile. Once you have your interface looking how you want it, I could go ahead and click Save Profile, and then I could go back into this dialog box, click on my profile, and then click Export. You want to make sure you have this Include Dependencies checked. That's going to include any custom tool sets that you have saved. But I could export it to my network drive, and then if everyone on my team or department, import it, and then everyone would be running the same consistent looking interface. So that's our custom profiles option. Let's now take a look at a PDF file and talk a little bit about moving around within a file. So you can see here I actually have 4 different PDF files open, and they open up in tabs. So just like when you're web browsing and your websites open up in tabs, I can literally just skip back and forth between multiple files. Super easy to be able to work in multiple files at once. Right now, I'm on a multi-page 8.5 by 11 document. You can see that down here. It's 20 pages. You can see the size is 8.5 by 11. By default, Review knows that I'm working in a multi-page document, and when I scroll my scroll wheel downward, it's automatically going to scroll throughout the pages. This is in contrast to if I had a single-page document, and actually let me just open up over here this is actually an architectural drawing. Review knows it's a single page, and so instead of scrolling downward, it's going to zoom in and out when I move my scroll wheel. But it detects whether it's multi-pages or single pages. I can change that down here in the lower left-hand corner. If I want to zoom in and out on this page, I can click on one full page. And then when I turn my scroll wheel upward, it's going to zoom in. If I turn it downward, it's going to zoom out. I could also pan up here and just press down on my scroll wheel to pan. And then I could zoom up here in the upper left-hand corner. So very easy to go in and be able to either zoom in and out or scroll throughout multiple pages. Another thing that you can do in Review is split your screens. Down here in the lower left-hand corner, I'm going to click on Split Vertical. And you can actually split your screens up to 16 times, which I wouldn't actually do that unless you had a super large monitor. But different things you might want to do with this. You could be working, for instance, on the same file and be making comments on one page and also working on a separate page. Or I could open up 2 different files. So let's say I'm reading this instructions guide for filling out this tax return. So I could be filling it out on one side and reading the instructions on the other side. I could take it one step further, and I could actually open up a third screen down here right-click here and click Web tab. So in Review, there is a web browser built right into the program. So if I needed to go look up some new tax codes, for instance, I could go to the IRS website and do all of that directly from the interface of Review, so I don't have to leave it. And if you ever needed to just manipulate how large these windows are, I can just put my cursor right at the center point and then drag it up so I can basically see more of this website if I wanted to. Once you're done, you don't want your screen split anymore, you can just go ahead and click this X, and it's going to close out that screen and just bring you back to your one single screen. So to open up an existing PDF file in Review, pretty simple. You have a few options. You could just click on Open up here, or Control-O if you like keyboard shortcuts. You could also just select any file with a PDF file format in Windows Explorer, and it would open up in Review. Or I could use a feature called File Access that you can find up here under Tab Access. I can just select File Access here. It's going to open up in the left panel. And you can think of File Access as sort of like a Windows Explorer built into Review. So it's going to give you easy one-click access to your most commonly used files. You'll notice under Recents, I was able to sort by different criteria. I like to sort by access history myself. So I can see all of the files that I opened up today, for instance, and if I forget what they look like, you scroll over it and it shows you a quick thumbnail preview. I could also see all of the files that I opened up yesterday, Sunday, yes, I was working on Sunday, 1 week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, so you can go back and find those files. But if I'm working on the same files over and over again, I'm going to want to pin those files in a project folder, and that's going to make it a lot easier. So I can go to any of these files, right-click on it, and then select Pin. So here I can go down and either pin it to an existing folder, or I could set up a new one here. And you'll notice at the top, all the pin files are located. So here I have my new project folder, and this is the new file in there. So I can go ahead and open up that file. So again, File Access is set up to give you easy one-click access to your most commonly used PDF files. Now, just to summarize all that content that we just went through, we've taken a look at how the interface is laid out with the command bar and the hidden panels. You've seen how to customize those toolbars and how to save this information in a profile, how to navigate around the PDF file, how to split the screens, and how to open up files from File Access. Now we're going to take a look at a very common workflow, administrative workflow, which is document manipulation. So I'm going to actually open up this 12-page document here, set of green building standards code. And I'm going to open up my Thumbnails tab, which is where we're going to do all of this document manipulation. So I can go to File Access and just select Thumbnails down here. And it's going to open up in the left-hand panel. So it's just going to show me a thumbnail view of all the pages. Whenever I'm working on manipulating pages, I like to really see what I'm doing. So I usually stretch out this window, and then you can hit this plus sign here, which is going to increase the thumbnail size, so I can really see what these pages are. So I'm going to just make those a little bit bigger. So I just want to kind of go through a few things that you could do here. The first thing that I notice is that this second page is upside down. Somehow it came out rotated wrong. So I'm going to quickly correct that. You can just select that page. You'll notice that it's outlined in blue, showing me I'm on that page. Right-click, and you're going to see all of your options. In this case, I want to rotate this page. So I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees. I'm just going to rotate this individual page. I could also choose to rotate all of them, but in this case, just this one. I'm going to say OK, and Review's going to flip that around for me so it's correct. By the way, you can always right-click on the page. You could also click on this cogwheel options, and it's literally going to pull down the same option bar for you to do these same actions. But a few other things that I want to do here. I actually have a page in here, page 7. I don't know how it got in here. It's got no content, so I'm going to delete it. So I'm just going to right-click and hit delete. But I need to actually insert a new page after this page 5. I'm going to insert a new blank page that I'm going to add some content to. So I go to where I want to insert it and just right-click, and I'm going to say Insert Blank Page. Review's going to open up, ask me a few things about what I want to insert. I'm just going to do a basic 8.5 by 11, say OK, and now we've got a new blank PDF page there that I can add content to. I could also, by the way, and this is a common thing, if I needed to go in and take a page from another file, and this is actually the same file, but let's say I needed to take this preface page from another file, I could just simply go and copy that individual page, and then I could go back to my other file, and then I could paste it in. So you can very easily take a page from another document, a single page, copy it, and paste it into this document. One final thing that I want to do here is this legend page was updated. And actually, let me show you. Someone just sent me an updated version of this page. So you'll notice the updated one just has a little highlight here showing that it was updated. And what I need to do is I need to swap it out. It's the only page that's changed in this file, and I just need to swap out the new one for the old one. So you can use a feature called Replace Pages for that. So I'm going to click on the page that I want to change, and I'm going to say Replace Pages. Review is going to ask me to find where that page is that I need to replace, and I can go ahead and find that updated page. And I'm just going to swap out page 5 for this new page 1. I'm going to say OK, and now you'll notice Review has swapped it out for me. So that's called Replace Pages. It's also known as slip sheeting as well. Finally, one other thing that I want to do is I want to reorder some pages. So I actually want to take this page number 12 and put it in front of page 11. Super simple to do this in Review. You're just going to select the page you want to move and literally just drag it over, and you'll notice that little blue line is where it's going to be placed. So I'm going to release my mouse, and it's going to be moved over there. So incredibly simple to just reorder those pages in any way you need. So now that we've seen how we can organize the pages in our multi-page document, just how we need them, now we can go ahead and add our header, footer, and page number details. So I'm going to actually close out of the Thumbnails tab for this. I'm going to go back up, and we're going to go up to Document on the menu bar and under Pages. And this is going to show us our options for headers and footers. It's going to open up a new dialog box. So here's where you can go in and add all of your header and footer information. In this case, I'm just going to make a header called Building Codes. I'm going to put a draft up here in the right-hand corner. And I'm just going to do a little revised, and I'm going to put today's date. So I can actually insert the date as it's dynamic by just clicking on this button here. And it's going to ask me what format I want it to go in. This is OK. So that's going to automatically update that date each time that file is opened. Then I can finally put my page numbers. In this case, I'm going to put them in the bottom center. So I'm going to insert page number. Again, there's some options of how I want it to look. I'm just going to go ahead and select this one. Say OK. We also do support Bates numbering as well, which is a very specific type of page numbering that's often used in the legal field, where you could add a prefix or a suffix with a certain number of digits before or after it. In this case, I just need basic page numbers here. If I wanted to change the font, I could easily do that right here. I'm going to make this Times Roman and make it slightly larger. I could bold it if I wanted to as well. So you can see a preview of what it's going to look like here at the bottom. I could also save this as a custom setting. So if I know that I'm going to need to add this a lot, I'm going to go ahead and save it so I don't have to keep putting in that header and footer info. I could also do a batch process. If I had a bunch of other files that I wanted to do this to, I could add that in and do a batch process for headers and footers as well. But I don't in this case. I just need to do it to this one document. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And now you'll notice Review has added the page numbers and the headers and footers. One thing I did want to point out briefly, if I needed to change these, if I decided that actually I don't need to place the draft version up there, if I needed to make any sort of edits, I would first have to go in and delete all of them and then basically change it to how I want it to be and reset them again. So you do need to delete them, then reset them up. So that's the basics of adding headers and footers and page numbers. Now, as one final step, I can set up bookmarks to make navigation around this multi-page document a breeze. So there is a Bookmarks tab, which I can get to right here. It's going to open up in the left-hand panel. And here's where I can go in and add new bookmarks here. So in this case, I am going to add one for the cover page. I'm just going to call this cover page. And in this case, whatever page that I'm currently on is where it's actually going to be bookmarked. So I'm going to skip through, and now I'm going to go over to my this is my agency contact list, so I'm going to add a second one here. And actually, I misspelled this word. The first one didn't take because I didn't hit enter correctly. So I'm going to call this cover page, hit enter, there we go. And now I'm going to do one more for my table of contents. I'm going to add a new bookmark, and I'm just going to call this table of contents. So now you can see you can easily jump around and set up all of your bookmarks for a multi-page document. And just wanted to point out that if you do use our Bluebeam plugin in Office, for instance, and you have bookmarks already set up and you create the PDF from there, it's going to pull those bookmarks over. It'll do the same thing from AutoCAD as well. But in this case, I didn't have them set up, so I can go ahead and set them up myself so someone can easily maneuver around. Now, before we move on to our markup tools, I wanted to show you one other tool that many customers use. And I did want to point out that this one is only available in our Extreme edition, and it's basically our OCR feature, or optical character recognition. So when a PDF is created directly from its source program, like Office or Excel or AutoCAD, it retains the vector data, so you can select and search and edit the text. However, when a paper document is scanned in a scanner, it turns all that text into an image, and that is not able to be searched or selected. So even though it looks like text, it's actually an image. So let me actually open up this file here, which is the same file that we were looking at before. It's actually a scanned version. So if you ever have a file that you can't search for text or select it, you know you've got a scanned document. And that's when you're going to need OCR to make that text searchable or selectable. So actually, if I go over here, I can open up my Search tab, which is the little binoculars icon. And I'm just going to do a test here. I'm going to try to search for the word standards, which I know is in this document a lot. I'm going to type it in here and click Search, and Revu is going to search the file for that. You can see it found 0 results in here. I know that's because this is a scanned document. So I'm going to go ahead and click OCR, and a little box comes up here. I'm going to make sure you click Ignore Vector Content if you do have any sort of diagram or vector content in there that you don't want it to run OCR on. Otherwise, it will give you an error message. So it is going ahead and adding these pages to the OCR engine, and it's going to run it through that. And in just a second, it'll pop back out, and we'll be able to try searching the document again. And you can, by the way, batch process OCR. So if you had a bunch of files that needed to be OCR'd, you could set them all up and then go off to lunch and come back and have them all completed for you. So it looks like this process is done. So now we are going to try running our search again for standards. And if I hit search, you'll notice now we have 19 results showing. And if I wanted to, after I search, I can apply a check mark to all of them. And then I can apply certain actions. So for instance, I could hyperlink every instance of standards to something else, or I could highlight it if I wanted to. Different options that you have for doing something to all of the results of your search. But you can see that now it is actually searchable, and it is also, if I go to Edit and select text, it is also selectable. So now I could select a paragraph of text. I could right-click, for instance, hit Copy, and then I could open up a Word document or another PDF and paste that text into it. So you're able to pull the text off of the page. So now that we've seen how to organize our multi-page documents, how to apply headers and footers, page numbers and bookmarks, and what to do when you have a scanned document, let's now talk about adding comments to a document using our markup tools. I just wanted to remind you that I do have Jeremy here available for questions if you want any more details or have questions about anything I'm covering in the webinar. So let's actually close out of this search box, and I'm going to open up a new file here. We're going to go over to my file access, and I'm going to open up this monthly report file that we're going to work on. So this is just a monthly report that, let's say it needs to be reviewed by someone from my operations team, someone from finance, and someone from project management. We can use Revu's industry standard markup tools to draw attention to content and to make comments about it. Now, let's go through this. You have a few different options for how you might want to draw attention to some of this content. how you want it to actually appear visually. One common thing that people would like to use is the highlighter tool. So I can go over here, and let's say I want to make a comment about this line on this chart. So I could just simply highlight it. And you can also change very easily all of the properties of any of your markups. So if I have this highlighted markup selected, I can go ahead and open up my Properties panel. And here's where I could go in if I wanted to and change the color of this, make any sort of changes to the actual visual appearance of the markup. What I'm also going to do here is change the subject line of what kind of markup this is. In this case, I'm going to change this to say recheck these numbers, because that's what I want them to do. And you'll see in a minute why it's important, why it makes sense to actually change that subject line. Let's say I also want to go down here and draw attention to this text. Just another option is you could use some of our text tools up here to strike through, underline. In this case, I'm going to just draw a squiggly line there. And I want to make a text comment. So you have some options, text box, typewriter tool. We also have a call-out tool as well down here, which is just a text box attached to an arrow. In this case, I'm just going to put a basic text box here and make a little note here. So I'm going to go ahead and say I need them to recheck the numbers after changing to 90 days. So I've made a quick comment, and actually can't even see this because my text is in white. So I need to change that. So I'm going to go ahead and make my text black, and I'm going to add a fill color of blue. And then I can go in here and make any of these changes. So for instance, let's change that text to black there, to that actual text box. You can configure the text box exactly the way you want it to look, for instance, always with a blue background. And then I could go down here and set it as a default if I always want my text boxes to look like that. So I can go ahead and place that. And then I might also want to select both of these markups and change the subject line to, in this case, again, recheck these numbers, because that's what I want them to do. And I want to be able to see that in the markups list. Finally, I could also go down and let's say I want to just make a quick note here on this line. And I could, let's say I've actually got some text that I want to put here. You could copy, if you have a larger amount of text, and then paste it into a note. That's what people generally do if they've got a lot of text they want to place on there. So I've got this Word doc here, WordPad file. I can just simply copy that, and then I could click on my note option here and just place it down right here, and then I could just simply click paste and paste all of that text in here because I want them to add that information to the report. And I can then go in again and select both of those and change that subject line. In this case, I want to add elaborate here. So I've just showed you some options for how you might want to use our markup tools for drawing attention to text and making some comments about it, as well as being able to elaborate on what the subject line is for each. You do have another option in terms of when you're editing and adding comments, and that's to use some symbols. So we have those saved in our tool chest. I'm going to go ahead and open up our tool chest over here on the left-hand panel. So for instance, I might have some proofreading symbols if I'm going through this, and maybe I have some things here that I want spelled out. So I could just select this option here, and I could literally just drag this out and place these on the document. So it's just another option for drawing some attention to that text. And then I could go back into my Properties panel here and select those, and I could just say, for instance, spell out GSFC and notate what that is. In this case, spell out DOE. So the tool chest, you can see it as basically like a symbol library. So a library of symbols and also your most commonly used markup tools. So we have these proofreading symbols here, but what you'll also notice up here is we have recent tools. So it's going to keep a record of all of the markups that we've just placed on this document. And so what the best way to make use of our tool chest is to actually create custom tool sets of markups that you use on a regular basis that you can have customized and then share them with your team. So for instance, we have this text tool that I put down there. So if I needed to reuse it again, I could literally drag it out on my drawing if I needed to make that note again. But it's not often that you're going to need to say the exact same thing. So if I double-click on it in my tool, it's going to turn it into properties mode. And then I could go in and draw a new notepad, a new text box, and make any sort of comment that I want. Check this with operations. And it's going to retain the same visual look and also that same subject line. Now, the recent tools are going to clear out every time you close review. If you wanted to keep one of these tools and be able to use it again, I could move it up to My Tools, and that's going to save that markup up there. Or I could create a custom tool set. And you can see that's what I've done down here with this admin tool set. So to create a custom tool set, you're going to click on Manage Tool Sets, and then you can select Add. I'm just going to call this ABC Project and say OK. Review is going to ask me to save it. I'm just going to go ahead and save it and say OK. And you'll notice that tool set is now located down here at the bottom. So what I did here with this admin tool set is I went through all my markup tools that I use on a regular basis. So I've got my red pen if I wanted to use that for just making some actual drawings or any sort of text that I wanted to write in by hand. Blue pen, black pen. I've got a highlighter, a text box tool, a call out. I also have a sign here if it's something that I need to regularly have someone place their signature on there. I've got some of these copy editing codes as well. I've even got a stamp on here, so you can put stamps in your tool sets as well. So the way that you would get a tool into your custom tool set is I could literally just take it and I could drag it down there, or I could go to any markup on the drawing itself, for instance, this text box. I could right-click it, and there's an option to add to tool chest. So in this case, I want to go ahead and add this to my admin tool chest. And you'll see, actually, I wanted to add it to my new tool chest, to my ABC project tool chest, and you'll see it's located down there. So once you've set up a tool set, then you can go in and select it and click Export, and then you could share it with other members on your team. This is also what I was mentioning with the profile. When you check Include Dependencies, what it's going to include is these custom tool sets. So you've got not only a custom profile that you're sharing, but also custom tool sets. So let's now change gears. Now that we've seen how to apply some comments to a document using our markup tools and how to save those markups to a tool chest, let's now talk about tracking all of these comments in the markups list. So the markups list, as I mentioned before, is located down here at the bottom panel. And it's a tab that provides features for processing, accessing, reviewing, and summarizing the markups on a PDF. So you can manage and track every single markup that's placed down on the PDF. You can think of it literally as an Excel spreadsheet that tracks all of your comments. But it's even more powerful than just tracking and recording who said what and when they said it. You can also add additional data that can help you manage the status of the comments and serve as a basic collaboration tool. So the first thing I want to show you is why it makes sense to change those subject lines. You can sort by each column header. So if I click on subject, it's automatically going to sort by that. So you can easily see in here, I can see all of those comments, all of the issues where we needed to elaborate more on that. I can see, for instance, all of the things where we needed to recheck those numbers. Someone needed to do that. I can also see all of the issues where there are spellings changes that need to be made. So by changing the subject line either to maybe a particular department that has to deal with it or just the nature of what needs to be done here, you can easily organize and see what needs to be changed based on these comments. You can also merge someone else's comments onto this document using the actual markups list. So let's say I sent this monthly report out to a project manager on the team, and he emailed it back to me, but now I have basically 2 copies of the same PDF with different comments on it, and I need a way to merge them. You can click on this icon in the markups list called Import Comments, and then it's going to ask me where is that file that has those additional comments that I want to merge. And I can go ahead and find it, and here it is. And now you'll see I have some comments from a different author here. So Jason Stone, who works in our finance team, went in here and made some comments about the dates on this particular chart here. So I can literally take someone else's comments and merge it down onto this same drawing. I can even set a status column to show the status of any outstanding items that need to be dealt with. So you'll notice here there's a column that comes pre-set up in Revu called status. So if this issue has already been addressed, I could go in here and set a status as completed. So you can see that it's going to tell me who said it was completed, at what date, and what time. So I could go through all of my outstanding items and set statuses for that. Finally, if I wanted to set a person in charge of dealing with each of these issues and comments, I could make use of our custom columns feature to be able to add custom data to this markups list. So I can do that by clicking on Manage Columns. You'll notice these are all of the columns that come preset. The ones that are turned on have check marks. If I go to Custom Columns, this is where I can add my own additional data that I want to add to the markups list. In this case, I'm going to set one up called Responsibility. And I'm going to make this a choice column. So now I can add certain people from different departments that might have to deal with this. So I'm going to quickly add a few people. Jenny from Research. We've got Jack from Finance that might have to do something. And then we've got Joyce from Marketing. So now I've just added 3 people in here. And you'll notice Revu now has, let me just adjust the size. You can adjust the size of all of these columns by just putting your cursor on it and moving it around. I now have a responsibility column in here. So for instance, these need to be done by Jenny. I can go down here to these tracking issues and set this for Jack. And then maybe Joyce is going to deal with all of these spelling issues. So I can have her go in and deal with that. So you can see you can literally use this for a basic collaboration tool. And then I could even go so far as create a report. Maybe I just want to do one just for Jenny that I'm going to send off to her. I could click Filter, and then I could filter by any column header. So I could filter, for instance, all the issues that haven't been completed. Or in this case, I want to filter the responsibility for Jenny. So now I'm just seeing these outstanding issues that Jenny needs to deal with. I could choose to either export these to a CSV file that Jenny could open up in Excel, or I could even create a PDF summary that I could email off to her summarizing all of the issues she needs to deal with. So now that we've finished, gone through here and set this up and sent off the report to Jenny, you can see that we can now finish reviewing the monthly report. I want to just go ahead and take one final look at it before emailing this report off to someone. So I'm just going to take a quick look, and the first thing I notice on page 2 is there's actually a spelling issue here, which I wasn't aware of. So I can make use of Revu's text editing capabilities to go in here and quickly change the spelling issue. You remember, as I mentioned before, PDF is no longer a static format, so you can actually go in and edit the text here. So if I click on Edit, under Content, you can see the different options here. And in this case, I'm going to edit text. So it's going to now make this text editable, so I can just quickly go in here and change this and correct the spelling on that and make that tracker. So I can easily go in and either just quick spelling issues or, entire sentences that need to be changed. I will just say if it's a massive amount of text editing that you need to do, it definitely makes more sense to go back to your source program like Office, Word, or Excel. But if it's just a few things or a few lines, maybe I just need to delete this line here, you can easily do that in Revu. You could also go in here and just make use of our cut content and move content as well. Maybe I need to take out this entire paragraph here. I could go to Content, Erase Content, and I could just scroll over here and delete that entire paragraph. Furthermore, I could also make use of our Snapshot tool, which is a very handy tool up here under Edit. It's the little camera icon that if I select it, it's literally going to go in here and it's going to take a picture of this chart, just like a little snapshot. And then I could go in and let's say I need to paste it down underneath this chart. I can just right-click and select Paste, and I can basically, it's copied over that chart, and I can paste it somewhere else. So Snapshot is useful for copying content and moving it somewhere else. So now that I've made these last-minute changes, I'm now ready to go in and sign the document using our digital signature feature. So while in the paper world, we're all used to printing out and just adding our own handwritten signature. In the digital world, we can make use of digital signatures to be able to securely sign a document. So first thing I'm going to do before I sign the document is I'm going to go ahead and insert a cover sheet that I'm going to sign onto here. So I'm going to go back to my Thumbnails tab here, and I'm just going to right-click and say Insert a Blank Page. And actually, I have a template that I set up in Word, and then I import it into Revu. And this is, I don't have a template because I actually erased it. Okay, so I don't have a template, so I'm just going to go ahead and insert a blank page here. I'm going to move it up here, and I can actually make a quick use of Revu's typewriter text tool and just go ahead and select this content and make this quite a bit bigger, and go ahead and adjust the size of this. And this is what just our quick cover sheet that we're going to sign on here. So underneath this, I'm going to add my digital signatures. So you're going to go to Document and then Signatures. And this is where you can add your digital signature. So what I want to do is I've already set up my digital ID in Revu. If you haven't done that yet, you're going to first go to Digital IDs, and this is where you're going to click Add and go through a process of setting one up. I've already set one up, so I don't need to do that. So I'm just going to say Sign the document. So now I can basically select the area that I want to sign, and it's going to open up the Sign Document dialog box. This is my digital ID that I'm using. I just need to go in and put in my password here and log in, so it is secure. And you can see it's going to pop up a visual preview of what my digital signature is going to look like. If I needed to edit the look of that, I could click on Edit, and this is where I can change exactly how it's going to be aligned, what information is going to be included. You can notice I also decided to add a graphical element of what my signature, physical signature, looks like. So I did that, and I have a JPEG file of that and was able to add that in there. I'm going to go ahead and say OK because I like the look of it. And now I just need to say, what am I doing here? This is my digital signature, and the reason I am signing this is because I am approving this document. So I can go ahead and select that one and say OK. And now it is going to force me to save this file. Whenever you digitally sign it, you have to save it. And then I'm going to say yes, and you'll notice now I have a valid digital signature. And the whole point of digital signatures, it's the last thing that you would do to a document. So if you have to make any other markups or changes, you would want to do that before you sign it, because it's going to show this signature is valid check mark. If I went in after the fact and added another markup or made any edit changes to the document, it's going to break this validation. So it's going to show a question mark. So this is just going to show someone that I approved it, and I've signed off on this particular document. So now that I've done that, I can go ahead and email that to my colleague now that I've completed. So you can do that directly from Revu by just clicking on the email button, and that's going to email it off as an attachment. So we've come to the end of the content for covering that I have to cover for using Revu for common administrative workflows. I wanted to briefly point out some additional places and options for getting more training, and then I'll have some time for covering a few questions that have come in that might be useful for everyone. So the first thing that I wanted to point out is that we do have a final webinar in this series coming up next month. And if you do have our Revu iPad app, this is definitely the webinar for you. We're going to be actually doing the webinar on the iPad and talking about collaborating with the iPad using Bluebeam Studio. Finally, we also have the Extreme Conference that's coming up on August 2nd right here in downtown LA at LA Live. It's a full day of learning and fun, learning from the Bluebeam experts, and it is held in conjunction with the X Games here in LA, so it's a lot of fun. And just also wanted to let you know that we just extended our early bird deadline for registration, so it's now extended to July 12th. You can still get our early bird rates for signing up for the Extreme Conference. And you can actually find out more information about that on our events page. That's bluebeam.com/events. This is where you can sign up for the Extreme Conference and also sign up for our iPad webinar that's coming up in July from our events page. Also, wanted to point out Bluebeam University that's located from the tab at the top of our website. This is where we have all of our training videos. So if you're into do-it-yourself training, we've got over 100 5 to 10-minute video clips covering just about everything you would want to do in Revu. So for instance, if you wanted to learn more about customizing the entire interface, you could click on that video. Wanted to learn more about tool chest or the markups list or our search functionality, we have all videos on this. This is also where we have our webinars tab. So all of the webinars that we've done, you can watch from here. This is also where we'll have this particular webinar posted as well coming up in about a week. Finally, if your company is interested in getting some customized training, we have some options for that. Either on-site, we can come to you and spend an entire day training you to do exactly what you need to do in Revu. We also can set it up as webinars, either as a group webinar or one-on-one customized trainings. So we set those up for all kinds of groups where we get into the specifics of using Revu for your particular workflows. So that is it as far as additional training. I just wanted to cover a few questions that I have here. The first person was asking about, let me go back to my report here, on when I added those highlights into this page, he was saying that in his copy of Revu, the text does not actually come out in the markups list. You'll notice down here, all of this text that I highlighted actually shows up as a comment. And the reason his text wasn't showing up is he probably doesn't have it set up in the preferences. So you can actually set that and make sure that that's set correctly under Settings and Preferences. There is an option under Markups here that you want to make sure you have checked, and it's copy selected text into text markup. So anything you highlight, underline, draw a squiggly or a strike through, all of that text is going to actually be copied into the markups list under the comments. So make sure that's checked, and that's how that text is all going to show up there under comments. Another person was asking about stamps and how to actually create stamps in Revu. So let me actually take you through that. So this was a stamp that I had actually showed that I had in my markups list, but let me show you how to actually create a stamp itself. So this is going to be found under Markup and then Stamps. When you click the arrow here, you'll notice Revu actually comes pre-shipped with a number of stamps already set up. Of course, I actually have a lot more stamps in here because I've set up a lot of them myself, and they're all saved here. And you can see that they come up with a little thumbnail preview of what the stamp looks like. And you can go in here. These are all PDF-based stamps, so they're simply just PDF files. So if I needed to edit any of these, let's for instance this draft print stamp, I could just click on this file to go in and actually edit this and make any changes that I wanted to make to it. But I could also go in here if I wanted to just create a whole new stamp from scratch. At the very bottom of the list, there's an option for creating stamp. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And it gives me some options for setting this up. For instance, you could set it up with a template here if you wanted just to be blank, or maybe you wanted text. I'm just going to go ahead and add some text there. And I'm going to say OK. So here's my stamp. Then I can go in here. I'm going to make this a basic reviewed by stamp. So I'm going to just say reviewed by. And then you can actually set up dynamic stamps very easily in Revu, meaning it's going to automatically update with certain information. So you can see this little dynamic box automatically appears here. I'm going to hit Enter, and I'm going to do the pull down. So I'm going to go ahead and say User. So this is going to set it up with whatever the username is set up in Revu. And then also I'm going to say Date. So I want it to be the user and the date. And I'm going to just go ahead and take this size down a tiny bit. And that's it, really. So now it's reviewed by the username and the date. Then I can go ahead and click Save. And Revu is going to automatically save that in the Stamps folder. I'm just going to call this Review by D for Dynamic. And click Save. And actually, let me go ahead and center this in here and then save this again. Okay, so now we have our stamp. Now I can go in there and place it down on a drawing. And actually, it's very easy to go in and place it on a multi-page drawing from our Thumbnails tab. So if I go ahead and open up our Thumbnails tab again, one of the options on here is to apply a stamp. So I can click that, and then I could go in there and select that new stamp that I just set up here, Review By. So there's my stamp. And I can say exactly where I want it to be placed. Let's say I want it to be in the upper left-hand corner quadrant here. You could also set any sort of rotation. I could scale it down a little bit if I wanted to and decide how many pages you want it to be on, all or a portion of. I'm going to go ahead and just say OK at this point. And Review is going to apply that stamp to all of those pages. So I've now got my stamp, which actually cut off a little bit. I needed to make it a little longer, a little taller, excuse me. And it's placed it on all of these individual documents. So if I wanted to go in here, I could make this a little bit higher here so it's not going to cut it off. And then I could resave that. And just one thing I wanted to point out where that username is that it's pulling from. This is also from your preferences. Whatever is set for right here is going to be what it's set for in the username for the stamps, dynamic stamps, and also in the markups list. That's where you can actually go in there and change that. So that's about it. That's all the content that I have for you. I hope this has been a useful webinar and you've learned a few things about using Review for administrative workflows on 8.5 by 11 documents. If you have any interest in more information, getting more information on training, you can email us at training@bluebeam.com and we'll be happy to speak with you further. So thank you very much. Thank you for joining us and have a great Tuesday.